Welcome on live safari here, everyone. My name's Brent. I've got James on camera with me. There's Scott and Andrew on the other vehicle, and Nikki and Eugene in final control. If those of you are new, you are sitting live with a herd of elephants with us on Arathusa Private Game Reserve in the Sabi-Sa in South Africa. So wherever you are in the world, you are sitting on the back of my game drive vehicle. And this evening we're going to go on a sunset safari. Really excited to have you all with us. If you are new, we also, apart from being live, we are also interactive. So you're able to send us questions about what we're seeing in the bush, and you can do that by emailing us at questions@WildEarthTV or use the hashtag Safari Live on Twitter. As you can see, we are with a nice breeding herd of elephants. We started off on that female who's moving a little bit further forward into this drainage line. There are lots of elephants around us. I probably guess between 20 and 30. And John, one of our zoomies who is watching the Arathusa cam, thanks very much. John spotted those eddies there around 1:30. We're not too far from the dam, so this is more than likely the same herd that was drinking at the dam. And if we look carefully at the elephant, you can see certain parts of her are a bit darker, indicating that she's probably been in water recently. So I'm quite confident this might be the same group of eddies that was seen on the Arathusa Dam cam earlier this afternoon. Well, just off to our right, James is actually on the tail of the female there, but I'm quite sure that this is possibly her youngster that is sitting also in the thickets here. Here we go, little guy. Still, so has mastered his trunk, probably not completely yet. So as you can see, as we see the younger guys who have no use of their trunk yet, sort of flaps around like a very wriggly snake. But there's some that I'm hoping are a little bit more out in the open up ahead. So we're going to just have a look up there, and if they're not there, we'll come right back here. They are in a very thick drainage line. And those of you who are regular viewers have heard me talk about how careful we have to be around elephants, and how elephants let us know if they are upset, so you can read their behavior. And I personally don't like to go crashing into thickets after elephants. It could upset them. And generally we get such great views of elephants here, there's no need to put added stress on the animals. But so far we've been with this herd for a little bit, and they are really relaxed. They haven't shown any signs of aggression towards us. So I did see a couple of them, there we go, out on the road up ahead of us. Quite nice. I've been feeling like I haven't seen elephants for a while. And James, when I was on camera for James this morning, as he is for me this afternoon, we were remarking how nice it would be to actually spend some time with elephants. So very happy to have stumbled onto this breeding herd thanks to John, who was watching the Arathusa Dam cam. So as you can see, a lot of that behavior I've been talking about, the adults are completely ignoring us, and even the youngsters that are right next to us showing almost zero, or a little bit more, they're showing absolutely zero annoyance or even slight irritation with us being here. You can see they're just carrying on with their daily lives. So I know a lot of you guys have seen me use that elephant size scale before. So why don't you guys try tell me how old this little elephant we're looking at here. Remember to look at that little tusk there as well, and hopefully it'll move closer to an adult. There you can use the sort of comparison to an adult female to help you. It is maybe moving towards an adult. It's quite a distance, but maybe just try anyway. See if you can figure out how old this little guy is, and you can send your answers to questions@WildEarthTV or use the hashtag Safari Live on Twitter. Just idle very quietly as we are in amongst the herd. Hello, little man. There's a young bull in front of us who looks like he's already lost one of his tusks. is possible that they can be born with one tusk, but highly unlikely. Maybe when he turns his head a little bit, we'll see if we can see if it's been broken. Now, it could become a bit of a disadvantage when he's older, but not too much of a disadvantage when it comes to feeding. But it could be a little disadvantage if when competing for females when he gets a bit older. Amazing how dexterous those trunks are, and he's picking up tiny little plants that he's sifting through in between a lot of that broken vegetation there. You can even see the leaf sort of greenery and build up on the inside of his trunk where he's been using the trunk to pull. Right down at the bottom there, you can see it there. That's obviously coloration that's come off the vegetation he's been pulling. So if we listen carefully, there are actually quite a lot of elephants around us, and we can't see most of them, we can just hear them just crashing around in the bush to the sort of the southeast of us. I'm going to try to sneak forward a little bit so we can see the youngster and the adult female together. We'll do that now. We'll just wait for the young male to move off. Let's try a little. Trying to see what exactly he's grabbing there. It looks like he's actually feeding off a vine that he's pulling out from amongst those branches. It looks like it could be a rhesus vine, but I can't see well enough. If it is, those particular vines are very, very water rich, so there's a lot of water in them, and certain species you can actually break open and the water will drip out. Here comes this adult female next to us, and she's eating the most important grass species, I think. No, she's not. I take that back. I thought she was eating the meter that James made quite a show of this morning, but she wasn't. And if you look at their feet, as I was saying, you can see that darker sort of line, and that's from when they were at the water. There we go, guys. We can see the two together now. And if you remember the size scale, see if you can figure out how old that young elephant is. So there, what James is showing you there is her teats. She's probably not suckling at the moment, maybe just a little bit. This youngster, oh, he's trying to suckle, but I don't think he's going to be suckling for too much longer. on to the Jays, Judy and Joyce. I would guess around 2 years. Well done, guys. And we'll have a look at the size scale now when we're finished looking at that youngster still trying to suckle. So at about 2 years, in the next little while, he will definitely be being weaned at this point. They start sort of the more serious weaning process from around 2 years old. And an elephant's maternal care is very, very intensive for the first 2 years of a young elephant's life. After that, they tend to be a little less particular and let them sort of roam around with the herd a bit more and not spend as much time very close to their mothers. I'm just going to use the radio for a second. So R2D2, as Andrew calls it, is back in play. Scott, do you copy?
And just wondering, did you guys have Ngonzo heading south on our Catline from Catline?
Negative. The Ngonzo we had went north at that position this morning, across into Buffelshoek.
Okay, copy, because the track's heading south from here north Kari Catline about midway between Central and Buffelshoek Catline on the Friday winds.
Okay, copy. I know those tracks crossed at that road where Kari Catline joins with Buffelshoek, but they're heading north. Copy, good luck. So, while those elephants have popped behind the bush there before we move, we'll just have a quick look at the book. So obviously it's not exact, and it's quite difficult to be exact with the ages of a lot of animals, but it's just a nice little guideline of the Eddie ages. There were some mentions that they were sort of 6 months. Now, even at a year old, a baby elephant can still fit under the mother's belly. So definitely much older than a year, but still not quite as big as a sort of a 6-year-old, which is sort of halfway between the two. So quite a nice little diagram just to show you. Obviously the elephant bull is much bigger than this, and this is just with females and youngsters as they get bigger. I hope that helps you guys. I'm going to move forward so you can see the eddies again nicely now. John from California, welcome on the Sunset Safari. John would like to know, is it not true that elephants are more aggressive when they are tuskless? I have heard that rumor myself, John. I personally do not agree with it. I just think that possibly in certain areas people have had bad experiences with tuskless elephants. I have seen many tuskless elephants in quite a few different African countries, and I haven't felt they were particularly more aggressive. James, what about you?
No, not at all.
I think when I found aggressive elephants, or elephants that are quite nervous, in Tanzania, in an area that was quite heavily poached, all the elephants were nervous or aggressive. It wasn't just the tuskless individuals. And also, a lot of the tuskless individuals are cows and within herds, and the whole sort of demeanor of the herd makes a far bigger difference on the animal's behavior than an individual. There we go. James has found a fork-tailed drongo who is hawking. So as the elephants disturb insects as they're feeding, he will try to pick up on any stragglers. There he goes. Chop. So as the elephants disturb any grasshoppers or other insects, let's see, did he get one? No, he missed. He's there taking advantage of the elephants disturbing the insects. So these elephants are moving into quite a thick area now. And as I said, I'm not a big fan of bashing and crashing in thick bush after elephants. There's no reason to disturb them. We've had a really nice sighting. They've been really relaxed in our presence. So we're going to cross now to Scotty and see what he's been up to and what he's looking for. So, and we'll definitely be back with you a little later in the drive. We're going to go sneak around at the drainage lines, see if we can find any leopard tracks. So we'll catch up with you a little bit later, and enjoy your time with Scott.
Good afternoon. With myself and Andrew, as you can see, we've stumbled upon some vervet monkeys, and even though they're around, we don't often get to show you them, so this is a great opportunity. There's more than one sitting in the tree. There's probably about 7 or 8 that I've seen. There's another one there, a youngster. And they are such wonderful animals to watch. It's just sometimes filming them can be a bit tricky because they can often be hidden in the foliage of the trees that they scamper into when they see us. I'm just going to roll forward ever so slightly. Oh, that didn't work. Well, again, a very, very warm welcome to all of you, and so good to have you with us on safari this afternoon. What a great start it's been with Brent and the elephants, and it's been a while since we've seen elephant. I can't remember when I personally saw any, so great to know that there's at least one herd that's back on the property, and it sounds like it was quite a substantial herd with a few members in it, and what a way to start the afternoon. Andrew and myself started off at Buffelshoek Dam and then made our way back to the central parts of Djuma, and we stumbled upon some lion tracks which were heading in the opposite direction to tracks that James and Brent had found this morning. So it is possible that they would have moved during the day. There's no guarantees out here, but the Nkuhuma pride, which in all likelihood will be, have been known to move during the day. It was just at this dam a few days ago, weeks ago, that they surprised us, and they arrived here in the middle of the afternoon. And the good thing about this dam is there's a waterhole camera here that runs 24 hours a day, and we actually got an update from the zoomies who control where the waterhole camera looks, and it's such a useful tool for us to help us find animals. Now, the Djuma cam, hello. It's apparently on us, and you can see it there in the tree. I'm just going to reverse ever so slightly. It's just that little white box there. So that's where all the magic comes from, and there's been incredible footage captured from that funny little camera. And really good audio is picked up as well. We can't see the speaker from where we are here now, but it's lower down on the tree. And as Andrew zooms out, you'll get an idea of where the camera looks. Now, if you follow the dam wall, that's basically straight north. So if animals do walk from right to left over the dam wall, that would be in a northerly direction. If they move from left to right towards the camera, that would be in a southerly direction. And the opposites are obviously east and west. Left of the waterhole cam towards where that buffalo is over there would be a westerly direction, and that's just useful for some of you, the viewers, who help us with the updates of animals that have been seen. And sometimes the animals can move off before we get you, so really useful for you to know at least which direction's which now, and that way it'll aid in us helping to find animals once they've already moved off. As you can see though, these buffalo aren't going anywhere, and we will get a closer look of them as we cross over the dam wall. And we're going to head back to these lion tracks and try and decipher where they've headed. They were coming back into our property, and midway down a long road their tracks have disappeared. Now on the one side of the road is a very big block with fairly thick vegetation. On the other side of the road there's a riverbed with extremely thick vegetation. They could be either way. I saw buffalo tracks, and it appeared to be tracks of a buffalo running to the east, and it could very well be that those lion have chased the buffalo, and who knows, maybe they've caught one. So that's what I'm hoping for, and hopefully when we get back to where we did have the last tracks we'll be able to show you some of them. They look quite crisp and clear, and that's why I mentioned to Brent that they could be from during the day, which would make sense because the tracks that James and Brent had this morning were heading in the opposite direction. It's a beautiful warm day today, and it's about 25 degrees Celsius, which is around 70 odd degrees Fahrenheit, and that makes for a typical winter's afternoon. The only thing that's different about this afternoon is the fact that there are a few clouds in the sky, which has been great. It's been a pleasant change of scenery from the crystal blue skies that we've been having day in and day out. And as you can see, this buffalo has got two oxpeckers busy feeding off it, and they're looking for little ticks, which are parasites. So there's three oxpeckers, sorry, and they provide a huge help to buffalo and other large herbivores in ridding them of these parasites. Really pretty birds, the oxpeckers. They've got bright red beaks and that yellow eye. As you can see though, this old boy is very relaxed. Eyes are closed. He's not even chewing the cud. And he's got his rear end plonked in the water to keep himself cool. Good afternoon, Pamela, and welcome on board with us. Pamela sent through her question on Twitter, so if any of you would also like to send through questions, it's really easy. Just hashtag Safari Live on Twitter, or send emails through to questions@wildearth.tv. Sorry, the sun is really bright in my eyes. And Pamela would like to know if we see any chimps or gorillas in the Sabi Sands, and that's a great question. We do get them in other parts of Africa, but not in the Sabi Sands. The only primates we get here are the baboons, of which we saw one lone baboon this morning, which we don't get to see very often. There's a whole lot of birds making absolute racket over there, and I'm not sure what they could be alarmed about. It could be a bird of prey. Anyway, Pamela, we get baboons, the vervet monkeys, which we've just seen, as well as bush babies, which are small nocturnal primates. Thanks, Andrew. Andrew's busy holding up his jacket for me. And you find chimps and gorillas in Central and Northern Africa. We don't get them this far south. They typically prefer denser jungle and forest environments, which we don't have here, so it's not the suitable habitat for them. and therefore we don't get them here, sadly. Central and Northern Africa. Well, we're going to take you from one of the waterholes on Djuma across to one of the waterholes on Arethusa, where Brent has currently found a unique sighting. So I hope you enjoy, and we'll catch up with you a little bit later.
What do you think that thing is?
I think it's injured.
Yeah. Welcome back, guys. We've just popped down towards the Arethusa Dam, and as the winter comes on, you quite often find hippos out of the water and enjoying a bit of the sunshine, as it is getting quite cold. There's a young hippo there, but he looks very sore, possibly injured. You just see, it does not look like he's walking very comfortably. He's definitely injured. When he got up, you could see he was very, very in a lot of pain. What is that other one doing there? Look at it with its nose. Having good fun. And the oxpeckers are gleaning for parasites. I think if we moved now, we would actually probably give them a fright and they might run into the water. We're just going to stand by here, let them get used to our presence before we move any further or any closer to them. Hippos quite often do not feel really relaxed out of the water. Look, James, look at the one rolling over. Did you see that?
I'm afraid I missed it.
Oh, sorry. I should have given you a bit more warning. I'll keep an eye. There was actually a hippo doing barrel rolls. I just saw 4 sets of legs in the air. Oh, it looks like that youngster might be coming to. No. But as I was saying, they do sometimes feel quite unrelaxed when they're out of the water. They do feel a little bit vulnerable from other predators, and they will sometimes just move slowly back into the water as they're doing now. I don't think it's from us. I think it's the fact that the sun has gone behind a cloud, so that warmth that they were getting has disappeared. So the water might be a warmer option for them at the moment. Oh, out of the way. So at this time of the year, the hippos are going to start moving further and further from the water in search of decent forage and decent grazing. And I know, probably not in this area, but in other areas, hippos can move up to 25 kilometers in each direction a night between water and grazing. And specific later in the year, sort of towards October, in other parts of Africa, you get a big increase in the amount of lions killing hippos, specifically in Botswana and Zambia, in and around the Linyanti region and the Luangwa Valley. Some very strange ongoings. I'm just trying to keep a lookout to who's going to do the next strange thing. But isn't it wonderful? You can come on an African safari, and while you're sitting having your lunch, have a whole raft of hippos in front of your dinner table. So guys, I'm just going to pop across to where Ryan is, who's one of the guides here at WildEarthTV. Just going to have a quick afternoon meeting to see what's been out there and around, and also just let him know about those elephants we just had. And then I think we're going to go possibly look to see if we can find Tingana again. How's everybody? Very well in yourself? You having a good afternoon? Isn't Grove all over Zebra Drive? Any update on Tingana?
No, that's where I'm off to.
Myself as well. I just keep getting distracted as we go by lots of different things.
It's got to give me my handle.
Negative.
Okay. But I need to get that back. Oh, did he?
Yeah.
Okay, never mind.
No worries.
Otherwise,
He doesn't
I'll try and
He's out there.
there's another one. I'll try and give you one so that you can communicate with the guys on this side.
Cool.
Make life easier.
And for when you guys come that side, one of us
we
can
don't
keep.
have the channel anymore.
No, but if we have your handheld, one of us can keep the handheld on that side.
But yes, and I see no more quickly.
Oh, okay.
Sensitive.
Yes. Okay. Well, I'm going to meander down towards that area as well. How many stations are following up there?
Just myself and Darby, so you can go.
Cool. Thanks very much.
I'm going to go straight to where he was this morning, and
Cool.
I'm going to go up towards second one.
Okay, cool. I'll go down towards 15th. Is that it? 16th crossing, and then come up from that side. Enjoy, guys. You're in very good hands there with Ryan. Have a good drive. Sorry about that, guys. It's just our afternoon meeting. As you can see, we have quite a spectacular office to have our afternoon meetings in. So Ryan is also heading towards where Scott last saw Tingana this morning. We're going to go on different routes to make sure he hasn't snuck out of the area. It is a little bit close to our boundary on this property, so fingers crossed that he hasn't moved further to the south. Jackie from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, I think. Yeah. Jackie would like to know, do animals that die of natural causes know they are dying and move off to sort of expire alone? Jackie, not normally. What will happen is quite often if they are in sort of dire straits and injured or lacking health quite a lot, what they'll do is they'll try actually stay with the herd and whatnot, because that is protection for them, and they will try not to be alone, because when they are alone they're a much easier target for the predators. So no, they don't really move off to die alone. I'm trying to think of any animal that might, but I can't really think of one that would do that. Most animals would seek other animals of the same species if they are a social animal, so as not to be alone, as to try to prolong their life for as much as possible. So animals, they really don't want to die. Their first instinct is to survive, so they will try to survive for as long as possible, no matter the circumstance. And it's unbelievable how resilient some of those animals can be. And I mean, major injuries, which we would consider major injuries, they seem to bounce back from. Those of you who've been watching for quite a while, you might remember we saw that zebra mare who had that huge rip in her hide, possibly about this long, I mean wide like this, from escaping a lion attack. And I said to her, I said to you guys, it doesn't look infected, probably a couple of days old. There's no flies and whatnot. I'm pretty sure, even though there's a bit of stiffness and swelling, and we saw that zebra, I think another week or two later, and the wounds still look quite good. And I'm pretty sure, well, we haven't seen that zebra again. You can never be 100% sure unless we see her again. But I'm quite sure that unless the lions got her again, she's probably would have recovered quite well and will survive from an injury like that, which we would consider to be massive and needing surgery. So guys, I know we've left those elephants, but I just thought of a really nice little question to test you guys, see if you have the general knowledge. Back on elephants. Elephants obviously been domesticated for a very long time, both Asian and African elephants. And I would like to know, when is the first thought time for African elephants to be domesticated, and by who? He's quite a famous person in history, so who was the first person to domesticate African elephants? You can send your answers to questions at WildEarthTV, or you can use the hashtag SafariLive if you're on Twitter. Excuse me guys, another little afternoon meeting quickly. How's it?
Yourself, Fred?
Very good. Yourself, though? Nice to see you. Missing you on the touch field?
Yeah.
How you guys been? Busy? Are we going to go have a look for old Tingana? There was in Love on Zebra Drive, quite a big group. Have a good afternoon, guys. Sorry about that, folks. We're back with you now. Just saying hello to Darby, who's from one of the lodges further to the south of us. But so back to that. So that question, which is the first famous person in history to domesticate African elephants? What did he use them for as well? And where was he from? There we go, James. That's a good one. And where was he from? And remember, you can send your answers to questions at WildEarth.tv, or use the hashtag SafariLive if you're on Twitter. Sure, it seems like the vacuum of elephants on Djuma, it seems like they're all on Arathusa. There are tracks everywhere. So we are getting close to that area where Tingana was seen this morning. So we're going to start going a little bit slower and really looking for the tracks, just in case he has moved. Also, while we're in the area where this leopard was last seen, we're going to listen very carefully, and as quite handy having James on the back as well, as an extra set of eyes and ears. So we've got an answer, I think someone's saying Kubla Khan. As far as I know, that is incorrect. And maybe possibly Asian elephants, but I think they were actually domesticated even earlier. But the first person to domesticate African elephants and he used them for a very specific purpose. Probably not the one doing the domestication, but the man who came up with the general idea. No one seems to have got it right yet. Sorry, I'm having a bit of problems with the radios, but I hear we have had a correct answer. Donna, and I think there was someone else, and the correct answer was Hannibal. And Hannibal used them as war elephants. Hannibal, oh sorry, Donna and Ginny, you're not Hannibal, sorry about that. So he trained them for the use in war. And no one has said where Hannibal is from yet. Here you can see there's quite a lot of what we call copsing, and that means there was a really hot fire through here. As far as I know, it was last year sometime, and I know a lot of people think fire is really, really destructive, but as you can see, all the trees that are burnt, what's happened is they're just growing again from the base. And in a lot of areas of Africa, fire is very, very important. Most of Africa is what you call a fire climax biome. And what that means is a lot of the grass species, and certainly some of the tree species, actually need fire to be at their most productive. So fire is not always a bad thing. I hear there were quite a few other people who did get Hannibal. Well done. So really well done, guys. But no one still managed to tell me where Hannibal's from. For those of you who might have tuned in a little bit late, not sure what we're up to, we are busy searching for Tingana, an adult male leopard who is the dominant male leopard in this area. Oh, some dwarf mongoose here as well. We're just going to wait. There's a vehicle just passing us. So Tingana is the dominant male, predominantly around Arathusa. He does come into the south and western sections of Djuma as well. There's been quite a lot of speculation. I've heard from the other guides in the area that there's a new male coming in from the south called the Anderson, or the southwest called the Anderson male, and he has been pushing Tingana and pushing Tingana further into Mvula's territory. So quite an interesting time coming up with male leopards at the moment. Also apparently this morning there was a lot of sort of questions about whether Tingana was Shadow's cub, Sindile's father. Now, I know a lot of the times us as people, we like to put things in nice little easy boxes when it comes to animals like that. So, because Shadow's territory falls mostly within Tingana's territory, he must be the father. He was seen mating with her, and it is near impossible to say that for sure. Female leopards do often move well out of territory to mate, and they do this to mate with all the males in the area to try to convince all of them that leopard cub, it belongs to them. And just check where the vehicle tracks were off the road where he was left this morning. But unfortunately, without taking a biopsy dart of both the cub and the males in the area, it is near impossible to say for sure that Tingana is Sindile's father. There is a probability, a high probability, but I don't like to try a guess when I can't be 100% certain on those type of things. So this is where he was left this morning, so we're gonna sneak in here, see if he's around. There is a strong possibility he's moved. Remember that big wall of clouds that came over this morning? It's been a nice cool day, so there's a strong possibility he could have moved during the day. I know he was lying up near a termite mound, and those of you who've been watching for a while will know that he is quite the rare species killer. He has, I think in the last couple of years, or the last year or so, killed 4 aardvark, and I've even seen him waiting next to a burrow in a termite mound. He waited there for nearly a full 48 hours, but obviously he didn't get lucky that time. We're just going to check around here carefully. See if he's still here. As I said, it's been a really nice cool day, so there's a strong possibility he might have moved on. But we are checking carefully. Ginny, welcome to the Sunset Safari. Ginny would like to know, would male leopards have anything to do with the raising of cubs? Ginny, not a very active role. Their role in sort of parenting is defending the territory from new males, and so obviously having mated with the female, they will often think that the cub is theirs, even if it might not be. So their role in parenting would be to defend the territory from new males, because if a new male did happen to come into the territory, they would definitely kill any cubs or sub-adults that are presently that could have been sired by that dominant male. So no real sort of parenting, but definitely will defend the area from interloping males. So at the moment we're going round and round the termite mound. I think there's quite a strong chance that he has moved on. I just want to check the last termite mound up ahead there very quickly. But it definitely like he has moved on. Oh dear. Well, we're going to have to start tracking then. But I know it's very easy, going back to what we were talking about earlier, for us to say, oh, Mvula is definitely the father of this and Tingana is the father of that. But we've got to be careful, and I know a lot of people think they can see the resemblance in the faces and stuff like that. But as I said, unless you can never be 100% sure unless you do the genetic work on those animals. And I mean, there's been some really interesting recent studies with lions in Namibia, in Etosha, that has proved that with the majority of the lions there, 53% of the cubs are not born to the dominant coalition males. They're born to other lions that sort of sneak in on the edge and mate with those females. And that's obviously quite an important thing, especially if there's a large coalition of males that might stay on longer than a single male. So there is a possibility of inbreeding, that these sort of nomadic males sort of inseminate the females on the slide, so to speak. Whoops, see? So I'm going to take a gander. Obviously it's very difficult to see tracks in grass like this. That he might have possibly moved towards the drainage line. So I think we'll go check around there. He also could just be lying flat right here and we might not even see him. So while we try decipher where Tingana has gone, we're going to hand over to Scotty, see what him and Andrew have been up to, but we'll definitely catch up with you a little later in the drive.
Welcome back, everyone, and interesting, Tingana's moved off, and I hope he hasn't moved too far, but still gives Brent enough of a challenge while he tries to track it down. Tingana is known to spend long periods of time waiting in ambush for prey. He's been known to wait 24 hours at an aardvark burrow waiting for it to come up, like I said this morning, and Brent could have even mentioned that this afternoon. Now, in all the excitement, I forgot to remind all of you, Chris has arrived. I did mention a couple of days ago on various drives that Chris would be joining us for an interview drive. He's a highly experienced guy, spent 16-17 years in the industry, and he arrived today and will spend a bit of time in the final control room. Now he's on board with us, and tomorrow he'll be out and drive. So you must welcome him and send him through lots of questions, and he's certainly going to take you on a good safari, just to give you forewarning. And we actually work together. Brent also worked with him in the past, so we all know one another, which is great and good to have him with us. Now, I have spent some time on foot just up ahead of us where these lion tracks disappeared off this road. They were coming down the road towards us in the opposite direction to where Brent's had essentially their tracks heading north. And whether they came down this road, turned around and then walked back on the sides of the road or on a slightly different path before crossing north, I'm not sure. Or possibly they crossed north and then crossed south and joined onto the road at a different point. Anyway, it's going to be worth spending a little bit of time in the area and see if we don't hear any signs or signals from the bush to try and help us. That was a beautiful big ebony tree that Andrew just showed you guys, and I remember a great sighting of Karula up in that tree, and that was the only time I've managed to be involved in sharing a kill with you. And she caught a baby impala and hoisted it up that big tree. in another tree nearby, she had that impala's mother, which she killed the night before. The night before that, she lost her last cub to hyena. So interesting circle and balance how she can lose her cub, and just hours later she managed to kill an impala, but left the impala lamb stranded. Not for long though, because she caught it that the following afternoon. Oh, this is a very pretty bird that Andrew's just zoomed in on, and I'm going to leave this one up to you to identify. So send your answers through to questions@wildearth.tv. Now this isn't for the seasoned ornithologists, and we'll only accept the first 3 answers, so you've got to be quick. Hashtag Safari Live on Twitter or questions@wildearth.tv, and the first 3 names that come through with the correct answer will be the proud winners of this little bird quiz. Not really easy to see, but that's part of the challenge. Here it's going to pop out onto the road, and it should make your job of identifying a little bit easier. It's busy wandering around looking for old grass seeds that would have fallen off their stems, and almost entirely seed eaters, these little doves. Oh, well, I gave away half the name, but it's a specific kind of dove, and I always do that. I'm terrible at these quizzes because I often give the answer away before you've had a chance to, but it's a certain type of dove. Okay, well, we're going to leave it to continue its snacks. Well, good afternoon, Diane in Michigan, and welcome on board with us. Diane would like to know, has this vegetation either side of the road been mowed? And yes, that's a great observation. It has been mowed, and the reason for that is it creates a fire break. So main roads kind of quarter the Djuma property with fire breaks, so that if fires are coming from either left to right, when they reach this area there's not a large fuel load. And we do get bushfires here. Sometimes it's controlled burns that become out of control, and other times it can be a lightning strike that causes a fire. And there are various clearings within the Sabi Sands that are actually mowed, not for a fire break, simply to create a slightly different habitat, and that is at the discretion of the landowners. It's all privately owned land as to how much mowing will be done, but it does create a better environment for animals like zebra and wildebeest. And we've already got some answers coming through, so well done to all of you. Well done to Diane and Gerda. Gerda was technically slightly more correct because Diane said an emerald wood dove. It's an emerald spotted wood dove, and well done. And Gillian Milwaukee is the 3rd one in, so well done to all of you for your speedy response and your correct answers. And I'm just going to see if we can show you the little emerald spots on its wings, which gives it its name. They need to be in sunlight. It's about to it's about to fly off. But you may have noticed 2 small windows on the side of its wings that glisten in emerald green in the sunlight. And to all of you who also sent through the correct answers, which are streaming through now, very well done to you as well, but we can't acknowledge everyone because we'd be here all day. But you know who you are, and well done. For any of you who may have got it wrong, that's certainly not a problem, and we're all out here together to share and learn and teach one another. whatever we can, and it's quite often you, the viewers, that are correcting me and teaching me, and I can't thank you enough for that. It's infinite amounts of information that would be required to know everything about all the plants and birds and animals that occur out here. I certainly don't have enough space in my memory bank for all of that at the moment, but we keep working on it. Now, there's a tree on the right-hand side of the road just ahead of us here, and it was just on the other side of that tree that these lion tracks disappeared. They'd been coming directly towards us, and I had one track off to the right which leads down to a riverbed, heading down to the riverbed, but then I couldn't find any tracks of it crossing the riverbed. So difficult. There's also more than one line here. So who knows, maybe they've gone here, maybe they've gone there, or maybe they have gone as the tracks that James and Brent found this morning suggested. Just share an update on the radio as we were looking at that little emerald crested wood dove. This person had found. Yes, afternoon stations, any updates please?
Welcome back, guys. We're checking around still for that male leopard. As I said, I thought he might come down to the drainage line, but while we're here, unfortunately in the shadow, but up on the combretum or the bush willow there, we just spotted a little bit lower there, James. There we go. There he is. So it's a bit in shadow, which makes him a little bit harder to see, but a really nice insectivorous kingfisher called a brown hooded kingfisher. So not quite as electric blue and striking as the woodlands, which we saw so often during the summer months, but he is a resident. He doesn't migrate when it gets dry, and quite a few of our kingfisher species we get in this area are insectivorous rather than feeding on fish, as you would expect, named a kingfisher. And let me just double check something for you here quickly. That I know for sure with the woodlands, but I'm not, oh bless you, James, I'm not 100% sure with the brown hooded. And I will tell you in 1 second. He is. I know I've told the story about the woodlands before, but the beginning of their Latin name is halcyon. And halcyon is a term that is derived from the Mediterranean, a halcyon day, when the sea is so still it looks like a lake. And apparently that name came from Greek times, that when the sea was that still, kingfishers would get confused and think they could fly across it between land, and they wouldn't, and they would often turn up on ships and boats, or boats out to sea, completely fatigued and whatnot, all just fall into the ocean and die. And that is more from what is called I think it's called the common kingfisher, which is quite common in Europe, believe it or not, being named the common kingfisher. We don't get common kingfisher here in Africa, but it is a relative of the other halicine kingfishers, and we do get quite a few different halicine kingfishers here. But quite an interesting story about how they got their Latin name. Just heard Did you hear that? Like a branch breaking. Interesting. Keep listening. I'm going to try edge a little bit closer. See if we can get a better view of this guy. He might fly though. But before we do that, I'm just going to say, you see, nice to sit in quite nice open areas. Gives him a nice view if there are any insects moving. And obviously for an insectivorous, oh, off he goes. There we go. He's gone onto the ground. Oh, it looks like he caught something. Maybe we can catch up with him around the corner. I was about to say, it worked out perfectly there. He's a nice broad vista that is able to see any insects that are moving. And obviously now as we get drier and less insects there are, oh, he's flown off, unfortunately. It's going to be harder and harder for him to catch a meal. But luckily for him, we don't get too cold and we don't have any snow, so there always are insects around, even when it is very cold for us. So, for those of you who were on a sunset safari with me a while ago, where we actually spent some time with Tingana, I'm going to get James to show you now. But this beautiful tree to the right, over here, is the tree that he had hoisted that impala carcass into, the one that Mark found that died of natural causes. And that is the tree he hoisted the impala carcass into. And those of you who've watched Instagram and Twitter and whatnot, that black and white picture I put of a leopard ascending was that very tree. Now I'm going to ask you, what tree is it? It is an easy one, not quite as difficult as James's impossible tree quiz. So I'm nicer than James, so I'll start with an easy question. So who can tell me what tree this is? Quite often along drainage lines, also on termite mounds. It's an evergreen. It has two different English common names that I'll accept both. And if anyone give me the Latin name, you'll get bonus points. But a very, very beautiful tree. Probably one of the more impressive trees we do get in this area. And let's see who can find out what tree this is. And remember to send your answers to questions@WildEarthTV or use the hashtag SafariLive on Twitter. Oh, can I see them? I can hear them, but can we see them? Very interesting bird call. For me, it always sounds like a 1980s computer. One you see in those old Bond flicks when the villain's opening up the side of the mountain. Funny noises. That's an African green pigeon. Just trying to see if we can spot them. Can hear them, but they sound a bit far. I do love meandering through these drainage lines, especially at this time of the day. Such wonderful trees, late afternoon light, and always a sort of feeling of expectation when it comes to looking for leopards around these areas. It's not very far as the crow flies from where they last saw that Tingana male leopard. So just checking. See this? Yeah. very carefully around these areas. Lots of nice shade for him. Also, some of the favorite prey species like the nyala move around. Let's see, I saw something there. Right. Not as distinct as I would have liked. So popped on the dashboard makes it a lot easier to have a look. So quite a big bone. I'm not 100% sure what it's from, but possibly a buffalo, just judging by the size. But what I'm trying to show you is in certain parts here, these look like they could be from hyena. It's quite old, but I was trying to see, quite often when you find a bone like this out in the bush, you find that rodents, specifically porcupine, will have a really good chew on them. Unfortunately, this doesn't seem to have, but it's always worth having a look. And in some areas of Africa, you must be very careful picking up bones due to anthrax. But anthrax isn't that common in this area, and also it's still a bit too close to the wet season. Anthrax only really comes out when it's very dry. And for those of you who are not sure what anthrax is, it is a fungi. And the spores get into the lungs, or your lungs, or the animal's lungs, and that's the end. Oh, unfortunately, not too much happening, but still nice to look at it. And you can see this is a very old bone. If I rub it, or if I take my knife out, you can see how easily, I'm not even using a blade or anything, just a little bit of a file. You see how easy it comes off, and that's from probably how old, I think? Oh, definitely over a year of sitting in the sun, and eventually this whole bone will disintegrate, and slowly, and little things like porcupines and even the smaller rodents will chew on it if they feel like they're lacking calcium, and when it gets to chewable pieces, and we've seen it a couple of times in the last 2 weeks. We saw that we've seen giraffe eating bones a few times, and then we saw an nyala eating a bone a couple of days ago. But unfortunately, no nice little gnaw marks from a smaller rodent. Also gives us a chance to sit and listen and see if the bush is going to tell us anything. See if the bush reporters are out in force. A squirrel shouting, leopard, 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 or a baboon going, lion, lion. So we are listening for all the different sounds in the bush that might give us a clue where there might be a potential predator. Cecilia, Jean, and Gada, who got that tree right. It is a jackalberry. And then the others who got the other common name, I think there were 2 of you, the first 2 that came in. Well done, Rocky and Donna. And well done to Rocky, who got the bonus question. He got the Latin name correct, or she got the Latin name correct. Sorry, Rocky, not sure. I'm presuming it's a man, but it is Diospirus mespiliformis. Doesn't that just roll off the tongue so nicely? Diospirus mespiliformis. I remember as a a youngster learning trees with my dad, that was one of the first sort of big names that I was taught. Diospirus mespiliformis, and I used to walk around. Oh, isn't that pretty? Just a male impala, but just a really nice shot through the. Oh, maybe a little bit forward. Oh, he's going to move, of course. But he was just standing so nicely in the sun, with that beautiful change of color around him as all the combretums are losing their leaves. But as I was saying, I used to walk around the safari lodge where I grew up, going Diospirus mespiliformis, Diospirus mespiliformis, till it's sort of ingrained, and I think that's possibly the one I will never ever forget, even if I am unlucky enough to contract a disease that affects my mind. I'll probably wander around drooling saying Diospirus mespiliformis. There he is, hiding there. We're going to continue on. For those of you who watched the fireside chat last night, I mentioned I've gone back about 5 or 6 times to where we saw that serval about a week and a half ago. We're going to definitely make our way into that area. There's always a chance. But back to we're going to go back to that jackalberry for a second. I mean, that common name jackalberry is, for me, a little bit misleading. African ebony is a bit better. It's said to be named because jackal is seen to eat the fruit. And in all my years in the bush, I have never ever seen a jackal eating the fruit of a jackalberry. James, have you?
I have one.
Okay, there you go. James has once. But these are going to be. They're gone. Forward.
In the jungle.
Really? Tell me when to stop. Birds proving to be very sneaky. And there. Unfortunately, we just heard them calling there. Really pretty bird. We see their cousin quite often, which is the white-crowned helmet shrike. We have seen the red-billed, which is the old name, now called the Rhett's helmet shrike, quite a few times, but they seem to be far more difficult to get on the camera than their cousins, the white helmet shrikes. Definitely not as common as the white helmet shrikes. Hi, Khada. Welcome on the Sunset Safari. Khada would like to know how long do anthrax spores last? Khada, I'm not 100% sure, but to my knowledge, pretty much for a very long time. I think they can be dormant for over 50, 60 years, maybe even close to 100 years. Why don't one of you guys check on that for me? Please, if you could check on the internet, how long do anthrax spores, how long can they lie dormant for? And you can send your answers to questions@WildEarthTV or use the hashtag SafariLive on Twitter. There's a magical late afternoon light coming in now. Everything seems sort of very clean and crisp in this light. And fortunately, James and I were discussing this morning, we were a bit worried about that wall of cloud coming in, making it even colder, because we're not as tough as Scott, and we like to be warm and protected from the weather. So we're quite happy it's sort of dissipated and we're left in this sort of magnificent late afternoon light. Hi, Christina from Pittsburgh. Christina was wondering that if there was going to be a chance, since James demonstrated geophagia, whether I was going to demonstrate osteophagia and chew the bone. Unfortunately, my taste buds are a little bit more refined than James's, so I don't delve into such things. Learned my lesson. There's quite a funny photograph my mother is very proud of me as a small child, about 18 months old, somewhere in the bush. I think it was in Botswana. My parents were of that sort of, when we grew up, if it doesn't kill them, it makes them stronger parenting style. So I was sitting while they were having, I think, a sundowner somewhere, and I happened to come across a fresh buffalo pat, a nice, really fresh buffalo dung, like one of these that are in the road over here. Probably a bit more fresh than that, and we've got no leopard tracks. Oh, they're hyena, unfortunately. So something quite like that, but more fresh than that one. That one's a bit old, and you can see it there. Oh, I'm a bit too close, but there we go. And so my parents obviously weren't paying very much attention to me as a small child, crawling around in the bush around their feet, and I managed to break open. I'm going to see, this one looks like it's a little bit too old, but let's just have a quick look. Stick.
What do you want a stick for, Brent?
Yes, I've been refined these days. There we go. It is quite nice, hot and fresh. The one that I found as a small child was far more fresh than this. It was literally steaming. I can't remember the whole story, but I think a large herd of buffalo passed nearby a pan, and I was sitting on the ground, crawling around playing, and I just put both hands right in, and as most small children do, home. And my mother, instead of going into shock mode and horror mode, like quite a few mothers I know would do, she started laughing and took numerous pictures of her son covered in buffalo poo, and left me like that, as far as I know, for quite a while, till they had to put me back in the vehicle. They only cleaned me off then, but I think that was the last time I tasted buffalo poo. So I've had, well, that is the worst of the phages, and I've done that, so I think I'm going to give the bones a miss for today. Thanks very much, Charlie, and the rest of you who sent through how long anthrax can survive or lie dormant. It seems to be around 50 years. Thanks very much, guys. I really appreciate all your help when I'm out here, and it's nice to know we can almost never be stumped because we can always ask you for help. Just hear some chin spot batis alarming. Just double checking. Probably nothing too serious. Just going to have a quick look around the corner there, just to make sure. We have been checking this area semi-systematically to try figure out if that male leopard has come out of the block. So even sometimes the smallest bird and the smallest animal in the bush can give you the clue to one of the larger predators. They don't sound too stressed, so, and I can't see any sign. Can you see them? And a knobthorn.
Quarry.
James has spotted them. I'll try to find them for you now.
We're in there.
Little chin spot batters, but I can't see the sign of any predator, either avian or mammalian. So possibly there's a reptilian that we can't see that they might be upset about. But I must admit, it was a long shot to try and follow up on twin spot batters alarm calls. I have had zero success in the past, but there's always a first time. I have had success following up on firefinch alarm calls to find a leopard, but never a chin spot batters. While we keep checking these areas, we're going to do another few loops around here to see if we find any tracks of this male leopard. Hopefully he has come out of the block. If not, there was a report of tracks of Shadow and her cub, a Sindile, further to the sort of south east. We might head down to that area to have a look as well. In the meantime, we're going to cross over to Scotty, see what he's been up to, and we'll be back with you a little later in the drive.
Welcome back, and I must say thanks very much to Brent for conducting so much of this afternoon safari. I've been spending a fair amount of time on foot trying to establish what these lion have done, and therefore it hasn't been possible for you to join in on the adventure. Sadly, the area that these lion have headed into is very thick. I'm almost certain that the tracks that Brent and James had this morning, they did initially head north, but then they turned back south, and that would have been what threw off Brent and James, or potentially they were further to the north of us, and then after Brent and James had checked those tracks, they could have come back south. Now we're trying to establish where they have gone. I did have one track heading east, but that doesn't mean anything because they could have been hunting in that area, and one track could be facing east, but they could have failed the hunt, turned around and continued west, for example. Anyway, the good news is I'm almost certain they are on Djuma somewhere, not further north of us where we cannot go. So we're just going to spend a little bit of time in this area, stop, listen, and hope that these lions pop out somewhere. It's cooling off now, and it's turning into a very, very nice evening. And when it does cool off like this, it does increase the likelihood of predators being active. So if these lions are sleeping nearby, it's probably round about now that they could start moving about.